Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar. Today I'm just going to give an overview of the application Flash Panel, and this is meant to be a demo of the entire application. There's more functionality, but this is meant for beginners. My name is Eliza and I'm a customer advocate here. My colleague Mike is standing by to answer questions, so if you have any of those, feel free to ask them in the questions box of your GoToWebinar window. So to get started, you'll notice on the home page the application is broken up into two major parts. The directory, which pertains to users, groups, OUs, shared contacts, the way that your licenses are being utilized, if they are currently active, suspended, or unused, and also your users' Drive and Mail quota, which will be merging soon. The other section is Drive, and that relates to your Google Drive. So all of your documents, the way that they were created, whether or not they're native Google Docs or have been uploaded from another format, and then also the way that those documents are being shared. Along the right here, you'll see that there's an additional navigation if you prefer to use this. And then also we link to our Google Guru site, which holds an extensive library of videos on Google Apps, and those are quick 2-minute videos with tips and tricks on every piece of the Google Apps suite. So this is really great for end user education. To go ahead and get into the directory, I'll click on Users. So this is a listing of all of the users on your domain, and at a glance view, you'll see their name, department, OU, their document quota, if they're an active or suspended user, and then all of the tools that they currently have, that they're currently subscribed to within Flash Panel. So if I click into to a user, you get a lot more information about this person. So for example, looking at the Google control panel for the Google Guru, you can only see their name and email address. But within Flash Panel, we made available quite a bit more contact information, so you can fill this out as extensively or not as you wish, but all of these additional fields are available. Also within this user profile view, you can see the groups that this user is a part of, and a really cool function is you can select all of these groups and actually copy them to another user. So if Albert Einstein is an executive and then maybe he has a partner who comes on, you can go ahead and copy all of those groups and they'll be up to speed pretty quickly. So also from within this user profile page, you have a left navigation and you can take a number of actions such as resetting this user's password, changing their nicknames, starting the deprovisioning process, but I'll walk through those tools one by one. Back to the user page, you can create users two different ways. So the first would be one at a time if you have the occasional hire or addition to your domain, and then the other way is in bulk. So to show you the singular way to create a user, first you would just enter their name, and then you can generate a password. And in this drop-down menu, you'll see that there's a walkthrough to make sure that you're fully onboarding this person. So the next step would be to fill out all of that rich profile data that I showed before. Given that there are so many fields here, we built in this time saver function. So what this does is uses another user's profile as a template. So in the case that there was another person joining Albert Einstein, you could just use his profile as a template, and the majority of those fields would be populated for you. So you would just need to change maybe the few things that are specific to this user, such as a cell phone or a name. And then if you were to continue through these steps, then you can add the user to their organizational unit, any groups, go ahead and set up an email signature, and so on. So the other way that I mentioned was to create users in bulk. The first step to do so is to export all of your existing users to a spreadsheet. And by clicking export, this will appear in your Google Drive. So going into my drive, I'll just pull one that I already exported. And within this spreadsheet, you can see in this column B all of the users in your domain. And scrolling through here to the right, you can see all of their profile information fields. So their name, and then the number of actions that you can take from directly within this spreadsheet. So as well as being able to create new users and provision them directly from the spreadsheet, you can also make updates to existing users. This can save you quite a bit of time. So for example, if you leave this first field type as update, you could require your user to change their password. You could choose to suspend or restore them. And then there are a number of other sort of additions and actions and tools that you can subscribe them to from this sheet. So you could add a user to a number of groups by entering them all in here, separated by a pipe. You could change their organizational unit, or maybe more common, you would just change their work address. So since this is a spreadsheet, you can use all of the spreadsheet functions, such as clicking and dragging or copying and pasting, to do all of these updates very quickly. And then in the case that you wanted to create a new user, you would just go to the bottom of this sheet and then type new rather than update. And you could just enter their email address. And then just put in some basic information for them, and they will be fully provisioned. So once the spreadsheet has been updated the way that you would like, since it's in Google Drive, it automatically saves. So you can just go straight into Flash Panel, drop down here, and click Bulk Update Users. And then once this is refreshed, you'll notice that that spreadsheet should be at the top of the list. So by clicking on that and then clicking Update Users, all of those changes will be made pretty immediately within Flash Panel. So now I'll move into the Groups menu. Groups work pretty similarly to users in Flash Panel as far as the way that you can update and create them. So again, you have the listing of all of the groups. You can see a member count as well as their status and tools. So if I were to click into one of these, you can tell the number of users again and click to the left to see a listing of all of those members. So these are differentiated between regular members as well as the owners of the group. From this screen, you can go ahead and modify the group settings. This is only pertaining to the one particular group, so you can decide how you want group members to be, who can post, who can view other members, and how messages are handled, spam moderation, and things like that. You can set those up one by one for this group specifically from this page. So I mentioned that this is only for one group because you can also update these group settings in bulk. This works very similarly to the user spreadsheet in that you would first export to a spreadsheet. And then open up that group directory from your drive. So here again, a listing of all of the groups. Instead of the contact info like was in the user directory, here you see all of those group settings. So just like in the individual group interface, who can view group content, who can post messages. So you could actually take the settings for one group, copy those, and then paste them down the line so all of your groups are set up in the same way. This can be really helpful if you find that one group, the settings really work for your purpose, and they seem to be configured pretty well for your domain. So if that was the case, rather than clicking in one by one to each group, you could just click and drag all of these settings down across the board, and all of those updates would be made. From this spreadsheet, you have a number of other settings that you can change. One that seems to be really helpful is the group membership edition. So you can add multiple users to this group just by entering in their email addresses separated by a pipe. And once again, by going back into Flash Panel, you can just click in bulk update groups, and once that spreadsheet has been pulled, all of the changes will be made. The next piece is organizational units. So the biggest difference between groups and OUs is that users can be a member of as many groups as they want, but organizational units are one-to-one. So OUs are more permanent affiliations within your domain, whereas groups might be project-based or more of a mailing list or a forum. These OUs are really how you want to tie and organize your users within your domain. So for example, you might have a marketing OU, and then you can click into that, see all of the members, any child organizational units, and all of those details about the members who belong to this OU. The last piece of the directory would be shared contacts. So shared contacts is a database that allows you to add in external contacts and share those out with all of the users within your domain. So these could be, if maybe you're a restaurant, you might add in different food suppliers, vendors, people who you and your users would need to contact regularly. So if that was the case, you can add tags to quickly allow your users to tell the difference and to categorize these different contacts. So in order to create a shared contact, you can actually do so 3 different ways. The first would be to create them one by one, just by manually typing in any contact information, an email address, company, things like that. Otherwise, you can bulk update shared contacts, a similar spreadsheet method to what we saw for users and groups. And then probably the coolest function for creating shared contacts is to create those from your personal Gmail contacts. So first I'll show how that might look in Google. If I go to Google Contacts, you have this folder of My Contacts, and those are all of the people who you regularly email, whether they're family members, friends, work-related contacts. But the bottom line is you probably don't want to share all of those names and information with all of the users on your domain. So maybe you would just select a couple of these contacts and then choose to move them into a different folder. So the FP shared contacts folder I created, and in order to add these people to that, you would just check this and apply. So now this group has all of the contacts that I want to share out to all of my users. Going back into Flash Panel, you could click this Create from Personal Contacts, and in this menu will refresh to pull in any groups that you've created. So here's the group that I just showed, and just by selecting that and clicking Create, all of those names and all of that information would be pulled into Flash Panel. I'll show once I get to the end user view how that will look for all of your users. but this is how you as the admin can create them. Now we can take a look at Drive. So as I mentioned on the homepage, this will give you insights and visibility into all of the documents within your domain, and you can take action on those as far as privacy and sharing settings, ownership, collaborators, all of that's concerned. So again, this graph will just show you the different types of documents, whether or not they're Google Docs, if they're presentation spreadsheets, or if they're some kind of other file, video, photo, things like that. So across the top, you can see a sum of all of the documents on your domain. This will update accordingly. And these charts will show you different things about the way that your documents are being shared. So you can set up policies